So the internet had a little bit of an incident. It seemed to have had its brain twisted around and exploded and ripped apart because a 3-hour interview, with Joe Rogan and Donald Trump. And by far, these are some of the interesting highlights that took place during this interview. And I just wanted to play them because it shows really a big twist, a big change in many ways. Because you see, for a long time, there was this at least idea that Trump would never show up on the Joe Rogan show, and I I I think all of us need to take into account what happened way back in 2022. Now, the thing is, a beginning is a very delicate time, and let's go ahead and address this because you know people do change, people's opinions do change, and I'm rather glad that Joe Rogan did change his mind. Uh, when he made this statement in 2022. So this is a clip. I want to give a huge shout out to Hotspot for actually finding this clip. But let's go and play it because this shows like I guess a different kind of mindset about what was happening in 2022 and what's happening now.
By the way, I'm not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form. I've had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once. I've said no every time. I don't want to help him. I'm not interested in helping him.
The night is still young. We'll see.
If I have him on, the night is still young.
Yeah.
You think I'll have him on?
I think you'll have him on.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Because you'll have Putin on?
And you're competitive as fuck. No. I think ultimately, I mean, you've had a lot of people that I think you may otherwise be skeptical. Would I have a good conversation? Which I think is your metric. You don't care about politics, so can I have a good conversation? And I think you had like people like Kanye on, for example, and you had a great conversation with them. I think I think
but Kanye is an artist. But Kanye doing well or not doing well doesn't change the course of our country.
Yeah, but do you really bear the responsibility of the course of our country based on a conversation?
I think you can revitalize and rehabilitate someone's image in a way that is pretty shocking.
Is Rogan right about that statement that he made in 2022? The answer is yeah, you could. It is possible. But again, one's person's actions and how they present themselves every day, all the time to the public. I mean, you could have a great conversation, but if the vast majority of people don't like you, then they don't like you. But I would have to say I found this conversation that Rogan had in 2022 to be very interesting because throughout the Trump years and even during Biden's presidency, Joe Rogan has been wrongfully smeared and slandered and harassed by the vote blue no matter who crowd, the liberal media, Democrats, by calling him a Trump supporter, a quasi-fascist, and promoting hate speech, which, I've been following Joe Rogan way early on when his podcast had only very few viewers. Okay. So, I mean, if you look at the history of Rogan and how he got started in this space, he didn't wake up one morning with millions upon millions of subscribers and followers on different platforms. No, he had to work his way up. What I find insulting is that you had so many people in positions of authoritative respect constantly smearing Rogan. And I understood where he was coming from. Like, yeah, maybe he just didn't want to interview Trump at the time. However, this election cycle, to quote the great Cat Williams, the prophet of our time, and I think when he said these words, it resonated with the public, and something happened in this year.
All lies will be exposed.
So, listen, Joe Rogan having a very popular podcast, as well as all these historic events taking place during this election cycle. And let's face it, there have been some very interesting historic events taking place, such as, once again, 3 times in a row, the Democrats rigging their primary to favor Biden. Then, as soon as Biden has a brain meltdown, Kamala gets replaced. Then you have not 1, but 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life. And, of course, you're seeing a massive wave of attacks against third parties. So, yes, this is a very important election cycle. Interesting, maybe. Interesting. Let's stay with that one. But because of all this took place, and that is Rogan setting up an interview with Trump, lasting for 3 hours. And so many people in the vote blue, no matter who sphere, had a meltdown.
Hello, world.
Hello, world.
We just wrapped up a great podcast.
We had a good time. I think you'll find it very interesting and enjoy it.
Hello.
So there you go. But now I want to play at least the beginning part of this. Some interesting highlights that really stood out to me and should stand out to you as well, such as Donald Trump and his conversation with The View.
Episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president,
Right.
and you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you're you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you as such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it, so coordinated and systematically. And when you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
Very.
she was encouraging you to
Last
be
week.
president.
But does he really want to add president of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
My friend.
My friend, watch this.
Oh, Barbara, how could you? Is Barbara Walters a Trump supporter?
Just watch this. This is nuts. We're in an alternative universe, okay? Because this is not that long ago.
Go standing O.
Bro, watch this. Just watch how this goes. Watch this. So she's a Republican. That's easy.
Yep.
But everybody else.
Joy
Hugs.
can't wait to get a hug in.
Yeah, everyone's hugging. Look at this. Look at this. Kisses,
Barbara.
hugs, kisses to Whoopi. Everybody hugs.
Oh my God, Whoopi Goldberg. Why? Whoopi Goldberg is giving Trump a hug.
Hugs and kisses. Even Joy Behar. Hugs
Even
and
Joy
kisses.
Behar, hugs and kisses.
See?
Joy.
Now watch this.
So I'm going to take you at your word that you have not decided yet when you're going to run, but you're thinking about it, and you've expressed some of your views, which are controversial and in many ways, but
Not to her.
well, not to her. Okay, you're a Republican, so, but let's say.
Oh, he had to say some words to the Republican.
Let's say that you do decide in the spring, right? And your ideas resonate so much. On the other hand, we saw Newt Gingrich apologizing for his marriages and divorces. You've had 3 marriages, 2 sort of uncomfortable divorces. Do you think that
Not really. They were very comfortable.
you want me to do that? Do you think
Getting laughs right away.
that would bother anybody?
I think the country is doing so badly, they want somebody that's going to help it. I think the country is never been in a position like it is right now. It's being ripped off by every nation, every intelligent nation in the world, whether it's China. They're taking our jobs, they're making all our product, and then they loan us back the money, we pay them interest.
That is
Whether
crazy.
it's OPEC,
That's crazy.
OPEC, which is
Look at this,
they're
watch
having
this.
a field day right now. How about the Arab League? They say, we want you to go in and attack Libya. These are the wealthiest countries in the world. Why aren't they paying us?
Okay,
Why
so
aren't
then they
so
change
I
their
agree with
minds
that, but
also.
you didn't answer my question.
No, I did answer your question. I really think
it won't
people,
matter.
I think maybe 10 years ago it would have mattered, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The fact is, I think people want somebody now that's going to protect them and protect this country, because we're not going to be a great country for long if we keep going the way we're going right now.
If you,
The audience cheers.
Yeah.
When we have France leading the charge, okay, France, this is our new leader. By the way, they led for about 2 hours. After that, nobody's seen them. I don't know if you know that or
closer
not.
than geographically, so they
Yeah.
Let me
should.
just
shouldn't
ask a
they?
follow-up question to
Their
that.
lead is the point.
Let me just ask
instead
a
of the other way.
follow-up question to that. Let's say you run. You've given a lot of thought for this. Who would you like as your vice president? Possibly Sarah Palin?
Well, I think it's far too early even to discuss that. I'm going
Notice how calm they are around him. Notice how everyone still loves him. You see, that's the thing about the liberal establishment. Before 2016 really twisted everyone's brains. And I think many people are arguing that 2020 was the year when everything really started going down the drain. No, it was 2016. It was 2016. 2016 is still traumatic to a lot of people. But to everyone right now that's been attacking Trump, that's been smearing him, that's been on the warpath, calling him Hitler 2.0. They knew him. They loved him. They took money from him. So if they already knew he was a flawed person, why were they so chummy and buddy-buddy with him way back before he ever became president? It's because it's all one big club. It's all one big game. It's all a lie.
I'm going to make a decision sometime prior to June. I'm thinking about it very strongly. I think I'd do a really good job. I think I'd protect this country like it's not being protected. It's funny. So many of the things I say, now politicians are saying, hey, that's right. Why aren't they paying us? If you look at North Korea, South Korea, we're protecting South Korea. They're making a fortune. Let's call it hundreds of billions of dollars of profit on us. We have 25,000 soldiers over there protecting them. They don't pay us. Why are they paying us?
You'd be treating this like a business.
No, a business with heart.
Okay.
Believe me, there's a lot of heart. It's a business, but it's also a business with heart. We will destroy this country. It won't be a war if the economics of this country keep going the way they're going. We're not going to have a country.
You're kind of a social liberal, Donald. You know, you're a social liberal. Could you actually get the base to vote for you in the primary?
Well, every poll is saying that I'm the one that does the best. You know.
And with that, a huge avalanche happened. A huge avalanche happened that was called Trump derangement syndrome. But there's so much more to take away from this. For example, look, and everyone calm down. We already know that there was that big Senate hearing, that House judicial hearing about UFOs. But even Trump weighed in on it. And you know something? In the off chance maybe Trump does win the election, how crazy would it be sometime during his second term, aliens do visit, and Trump is the president? Folks, brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. Trump is braced about people coming from space. We got to build a wall around Earth, and Mars is going to pay for it.
A lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes.
And I know you're interested.
Oh,
in
very
that.
interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Obama, Bush Jr., Bill Clinton would never say this. How much did they tell you about aliens? A lot.
Oh, very interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super
I think
top
I
secret?
Can tell, you know,
Tell me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I want, right? But no. But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure. I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them.
I've had a couple in here. Commander David Fravor.
Yeah.
I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very, very compelling with video evidence, radar evidence.
I interviewed
Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but I interviewed jet pilots that were solid people. Perfect. I mean, great pilots, great everything. And they said, we saw things, sir, that were very strange. Like a round ball, but it wasn't a comet or a meteor. It was something. And it was going 4 times faster than an F-22, which is a very fast plane, you know.
Do you think Trump really interviewed these people? He really spoke to them? No such thing as a wrong answer there, folks. But already, this interview was 3 hours long. These are just a couple of highlights from it. But what was fascinating, though, was that Trump admitted that he made some mistakes. Don't ask that question to Kamala, because Kamala will probably have a little bit of a brain freeze. But Trump does name his biggest mistake, and that is, and I want to pull this article up here from RT. Former U.S. president and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has told podcaster Joe Rogan that his biggest mistake was making a number of wrong personal decisions during his time in the White House between 2017 and 2021. That also include the arrest of Julian Assange, not pardoning Edward Snowden, helping usher in the roadmap to the wave of online censorship. Yes, Trump did help contribute to that, my lovelies. That's what he did. He might not have known it, but he kicked down the door. Not better yet, he blew open the door. But speaking of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast on Saturday, Trump insisted that his was a great presidency, but pointed out that it could have been even better if he surrounded himself with different people. The biggest mistake I made was I picked a few people that I should not have picked, which means you picked a lot of people who are neoconservatives, who are part of the Bush Jr., Dick Cheney presidential administration. Now, what are some of the problems with the Bush Cheney administration? These are the same big brain geniuses that led us to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. These are the same geniuses that led us down to the for the war on terror, to which is still going on to this very day. The reason why the Middle East is such a powder keg right now is because of the actions done by Bush Jr. and Vice President Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, who also endorsed Kamala Harris, because after all, Kamala Harris is a Dick Cheney Democrat, right? Never forget that this administration, the Bush Cheney administration, were also the people who allowed the 2008 economic collapse to happen. But it's all right. Barack Obama just told everyone, hey, we're not going to hold the Bush Cheney administration accountable. We're just going to look forward, not backwards. But I want to play this clip here because here he actually talks about it with Joe Rogan. So let's go ahead and play this video and enjoy it for all you lovely, beautiful people.
The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons or bad people or disloyal people or
people that were just
people
bad,
that were into the
people got bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about them a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. John Bolton. A friend of mine called
John Bolton. Who is John Bolton? Well, John Bolton has a certain kind of fetish. Nope. He won't find it on the hub. He won't find any kind of adult porn site. Nope, that man's got a hard-on for war, forever war. That he's still foaming at the mouth, waiting to feast on Iran. This is somebody who's wishing he was in the White House right now as the Biden-Harris administration is turning a blind eye to the genocide in Gaza, as well as how Israel is instigating conflicts with Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. Also, how can we forget the devastating conflict that's happening between Russia and Ukraine? John Bolton. John Bolton, an architect of death.
Called me up. I was picking Bolton. And he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. He's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? The good old poker sense. And Phil Ruffin is a very, very wise kind of a guy and one of the richest people around and has had great success and understands people. So it was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy. Now, he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, he's a bad guy. It always works out bad with that guy. I said, oh, man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. He's here. And he was right. But he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job.
Trump, you really got to vet people, okay? I'm willing to bet everybody, like in the early days of the Trump administration, I'm willing to bet everyone that was selected who was part of the Bush Cheney administration was just placating Trump and assuming that he was just going to play along like how Bush Jr. was, like how Dick Cheney was the puppet master. And there's no denying it. Dick Cheney was the puppet master. He was the guy running the show. It wasn't Bush Jr. It was Dick Cheney. That's what was going on. And yet, here he's now saying that the guy was a nut job, but good for him. You see, when you're somebody like Trump, or when you see a person like Trump, they're not used to the word no. They're not used to the word of, or the idea or the concept of being challenged. But what did we see during the 4 years of the Trump presidency? So many whistleblowers so many people out there going ahead and speaking about the administration, talking about the administration, addressing some of the flaws and failures. And surprise, surprise, it was his most inner circle that was ratting him out.
And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, oh, man, Trump's going to go to war with us. He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more publicity than other people. And it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh,
Yeah, Trump, hold on. Rogan's going to say you said a lot of crazy shit. Yes, Trump, it's because you said a lot of crazy stuff, okay? I mean, come on. You're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Rocket Man. I mean, these are some of his favorite hits right there, okay? Dude, on the campaign trail, you told the American people that you're huge down there, okay? No other politician has ever done that. No other politician has been exposed that much, save for Anthony Weiner.
I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, he did. Just, we got a few more highlights to go through because now let's go ahead and bring up this point right here. I do want to bring this up because Trump has now we're turning back to space. The audacity of going into space. What would it mean? And according to Trump, and at least in his administration, we're going to Mars, lovelies. That's where we're going.
You can do that. Elon did that. By the way, Elon is great. That guy is such a great guy. I think you're a fan of
love
Elon.
him.
He is from a different planet. He's the greatest guy. That rocket coming in.
Yeah.
I told the story once or twice. So you may have heard it because these speeches have been good. Did you see the one last night?
Yeah. I did.
29,000 people. That was it.
Yeah.
And the one the night before was the same thing. We are rocking and rolling. But Elon, and I'm talking to this very important guy. I said, wait a minute, I'm looking at something. The television's unmuted, right? And I see this rocket. It's all brown from the heat. It's like 10,000 degrees pouring down at thousands of miles an hour. And I see this thing, it's like a 20-story building.
And it catches
And I say to this guy,
that's very true. Shout out to Lawrence Fine. This conversation went everywhere except for the genocide in Gaza. No, of course, that was never going to be mentioned. It's not. But I do have a video for a follow-up because Trump, after this 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan, did attend a campaign rally. And something happened there. And if you're not a Democrat, you'd be crap. Listen, Democrats right now, your pants are filled with that brown. Wash it.
an important guy. Wait a minute. Let me just put you down. Hold it. I got to see this. And I see this, and it's going to crash. I say, it's going to crash into the gantry. They call it a gantry. I said, oh, man, that's going to be a disaster because it's starting to get very close. And then all of a sudden you see the flames and the bottom, and it boom. And then you see the two arms grab it.
Crazy.
And I forgot the guy. I had him on the phone. I forgot. No, I said, the hell with it. No, I called Elon. I said, was that you? He said, that was me. And I said, who else can do that? He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States, nobody can do it. You know, I set up Space Force. That was me. And that's.
Put me in a name game. I mean, Space Force. But all right, whatever. You know what? I don't even care anymore.
The first time in 82 years that we opened another branch since the Air Force. And that's going to be one of our most important things. But think of what Elon does.
And yes, I do want to quote for Dr. Nick on Kick, who says 3 hours and no genocide talk. Of course, they're not going to bring it up. I mean, right now, the whole crisis in the Middle East, I mean, it's being talked about. And we got other segments that will be addressing the crisis in Gaza and the ongoing conflicts that we are seeing. But like I said, folks, I have a video at the very end that happened at a Trump rally that I wasn't expecting. Now, I am not holding my breath for Donald Trump to bring peace into our times or either that bring any kind of accountability. But this election, we are going to be seeing such a shift in how people vote. No matter how it turns out, the Democrats and their coalition, if the Democrats win, it'll be by the skin of their teeth. And if they lose, we'll see their entire infrastructure fall apart. No matter what's going to happen, the Democrats are on a sinking ship, and all what we could do is grab the popcorn and watch. But trust me, I'm only building up to it, and my promise is a promise. I always like to build up to something. I always like to build up to the point of what's going on, especially with this election cycle. Now, we all know that Trump has also been called Hitler reborn, the vile bad guy, the villain of our era. I found this to be ridiculous. I found this to be insulting. Trump and Hitler are two different people altogether. And it seems to be the tried and true Coca-Cola classic in which the vote blue no matter who crowd seems to try to do everything in their power to present Donald Trump as this evil threat to democracy. Well, here's the thing about our oh so fantastic constitutional republic that says it practices democratic values. We are an oligarchy. Our system is bought. The Supreme Court of the United States allowed legalized bribery to take place. So that means anybody or anything, any entity, any institution, any country around the world can buy your favorite U.S. Senator and U.S. House Representative. Did you know that your favorite elected official in the United States House or in the United States Senate is actually thriving and succeeding in doing insider trading? And don't worry, if any of you were ever to try anything like that, like our fantastic elected officials, why, they're going to lock you up so fast you'll never see the light of day ever again. But our politicians are doing insider trading. Our politicians are rich. They're owned by the donors, the corporate donors, or either that the politicians must bow to their owners. Wall Street, big banks, the top 1%. All this talk and hype and crying from the vote blue no matter who crowd saying, oh, if Trump gets elected, we'll have fascism and corruption. Well, we already have it. And, if you look at the long, sad history of many of our presidents, you have so many liberals saying, oh, all of our past presidents were so eloquent and so kind and so benevolent, which the truth is, no, they weren't. How many U.S. presidents signed the order and destruction of the Native American tribes? That's right. The oh so fantastic, well-spoken presidents signed orders for exterminations of Native American people. Let's not forget that there were presidents that presided over the United States when slavery was still rampant, when women couldn't vote. Now, somehow, liberals are stuck in this mindset that Trump is just going to tear it all down. There's a lot of things to say about Trump. Yes, he's like any other neoliberal politician. I'm not going to vote Democrat. I sure as hell won't vote Republican. But to say that he's the end-all, be-all threat, my lovelies, my beautiful people, crack open a history book and read about our oh-so-fantastic leaders of antiquity. And dare I say it, why don't you look at your fantastic politicians too and see the damages they have done? We talk about evil a lot, especially corporate media promoting that Trump is the bad guy. It's easy to see the mustache-twirling villain. But the architects of this neoliberal nightmare, this economy in which we are all struggling in, they've been in power for decades. It's easy to point at Trump, but why isn't anyone pointing at the people who have led us down this path in the first place? So let's go and pull up this video here where Trump responds to being called Hitler by Kamala Mamala.
The rhetoric is also that you're Hitler, and that
Yeah,
in
that's
order
another
to
thing.
stop Hitler, you have to do whatever it takes.
That was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, you're hearing this now. Kamala compared you to, said your love of Hitler yesterday. It's
Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I'm for taking tests too. I think anybody that runs for president they should give them tests. And it's not an age thing. It's not based. If you look back on history, 70s and 80s, some of your greatest leaders in the world history, long time world history, they were in their 70s and their 80s. But I think you should take cognitive tests. I think they say it's unconstitutional, but
that's ridiculous.
I think Kamala should.
Do you see, first of all, I am no Geraldo Rivera, because let's face it, I never ever want to be embarrassed on national TV by saying, "Hey, folks, I found Alphonse Capone's booze cellar," or wait, what was it that caused him to get embarrassed? I don't know. Geraldo's done a lot of stupid things, but at least he didn't say that I was John Stossel, because you know what? I don't want to be slapped by a wrestler. That's an open hand slap, boy. But DC, get up and go see the White House counselor calling me Geraldo Rivera. Shame on you. Thought my audience loved me.
Should have a test because if you look back on history, 70s and 80s, some of your greatest leaders in the world history, long time world history, they were in their 70s and their 80s. But I think you should take cognitive tests. I think everybody, they say it's unconstitutional, but
That's ridiculous.
I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her.
Well, I think it's pressure. I think the pressure and the scrutiny, you've been a celebrity for a long time and you understand what this is like. But for someone who's in her late 40s, who becomes the vice president, who runs for president, becomes the vice president, and then all of a sudden the weight of the world is on your shoulders and there's all these people paying attention. A lot of people clam up.
But you either have it or you don't.
Correct.
Look, this is an interview. We've covered a lot of territory, right? And it's fine. I don't care. I want to. I think it's much more interesting. To do an interview with Anderson Cooper, a crazy softball interview. She took 2 days off and she studied all day long. And then she comes out with a result that was a real embarrassment. That was a really bad interview. She couldn't answer a question. And every question's not answered. I mean, like, what would you do your first day in office? Okay, I'll build a wall. I won't build a wall. There's 100 things you can say. Just say anything, right? There's something off with her.
Okay, that is kind of funny, all right. But there is something off with Kamala because my goodness, I've never seen a word salad. I guess she's really good using that mouth talking about word salad stuff. Get your minds out the gutter, okay? Shush, shush. I don't want to see anybody clip that. Don't you clip that. Nobody clip that because that's not right. Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you who are just constantly promoting it. But also, there's a very interesting concept of who's going to be part of Trump's administration. Now, he has indicated that some people might be returning and other people might have a more permanent job. And this caused many liberals to have a little meltdown because RFK Jr. potentially could have a position in Trump's administration.
First of all, I love this idea of you teaming up with Robert Kennedy.
Right.
And I love this Make America Healthy Again idea because there are chemicals and ingredients in our food that are illegal in other countries because they've been shown to be toxic. There's pesticides and herbicides, and there's a lot of shit that's been sprayed on our food that really is unnecessary. And there's a lot of health consequences that people are suffering from a lot of these things. And
I brought this chart for you.
Beautiful.
Because I had a feeling you'd be asking me.
Look
at this chart. These are healthier countries. Look where the United States is. I'm going to send this to RFK Jr. Look
so
at that.
This is, something along the, I was actually talking to RFK today, and he told me that more than 70% of young men are ineligible for the military because of their health.
I could see it.
That's crazy.
A lot of it's obesity.
So here's the life expectancy versus health expenditure.
Same chart.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
USA.
Wow,
yeah.
That's pretty good.
Jamie's the best.
He's very good.
He's the best.
Yes, Jamie is the best. Well done. That's right, Trump. He works for Rogan, though.
But but look at that. Look where
at
the USA is.
It's not good. And that's our food. That's our diet. That's sedentary lifestyle. That's our diet. That's the chemicals we ingest. That's what that is.
But RFK is going to be very, I think he's a great guy.
I love the fact that you guys teamed up.
Yeah.
And are you completely committed to have him a part of your administration?
Oh, I am. But the only thing I want to be a little careful about with him is the environmental, because, he doesn't like oil. I love oil and gas. I think, God.
We're going to drill, baby, drill. All deep. Hey, screw it already. The planet's on its way for destruction. Listen, folks, the planet's fine. To quote the great Saint George Carlin, we're fucked.
I think
just keep him out of that.
To fire. So I'm going to sort of keep him out of a little. I said, focus on health. Focus.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, but I got to be a little bit careful with the liquid gold.
I understand. But listen, there's plenty of good work that could be done if you focus on health.
Johnny, damn, like Carlin said, if you're born in America, you get a front row seat to the freak show. And hey, folks, I'm more than happy to be the announcer because the next couple of segments following after, let me just tell you, I warned you, and I warned us, the Democrats too, that eventually their arrogance was going to get the better of them. that eventually, sooner or later, they're going to collapse under their own weight. And sooner or later, all their actions will come back to haunt them. Most notably, their most infamous thing that they like to promote the most, and that is, you know it, you love it, Russiagate.
The Russia hoax was a big hoax. It was all a big hoax. So
Well, that's
they
clear.
get Mueller.
That's one example, but that is a good
that's
example.
a big example. They say it made a 17-point difference. That's a big example, but that's only one. And you could go into the ballots where they wouldn't give you access to the ballots. You could go into the ballot harvesting. You could go into $500 million for the lock boxes.
But just in terms of narrative, so there's two things, right? There's the Russia hoax. There's the collusion with Russia that was never proven, right? That's one.
Well, no, it's proven it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. But they talked about it on
but
television.
But it took 2.5 years to prove.
But not only that, but it was a constant narrative on television. So
Sure.
that's a constant narrative that gets into people's minds, especially low information people that just watch the news, that you're in collusion with Russia. So that's one.
Sure.
So that changes the narrative. And then you have the 51 former intelligence agents that work with the original Twitter and get them to remove links. You can't share it.
And I remember that because we tried that. We tried to talk about that story, and we almost could have gotten deplatformed too. We had to be very careful. Anything about the Hunter Biden laptop story was posted on our other alternative platforms where we had to talk about that. But yes, if you tried to share that story about Hunter Biden, I mean, it was deemed as a Coca-Cola classic Russian disinformation campaign that turned out to be, oh no, right up the wazoo, very true. I'm trying to be serious here, folks, but after seeing so many people that I respect saying, oh my God, Joe Rogan truly is a fascist and a bad person from an interview, how so? Now, there's some things I wish that was brought up, but I'm glad that we are bringing up Russiagate, the great conspiracy, the great waste of time. And because of Russiagate, we got that fantastic war that's happening in Ukraine. Well done, liberals. We're getting World War III. It's happening under a Democrat, though.
On DMs, you cannot share that story. They swept that story because they said it was Russian disinformation, even though they knew it was not.
100%.
So that's two examples that are real examples. Now,
also here, real quick here, folks. Hiya, Kit. YouTube gave me another 24-hour commenting ban for no reason. Folks, when it comes down to stories like this or even giving commentary, when I said that the jackboot of censorship is going to get real, I meant it. And I'm very sorry this is happening. I wish that that wasn't the case. But here we are. Say it with me, folks. What could go wrong? Oh, so much could go wrong, just like with Russiagate.
Anyone who considers himself a legitimate, objective observer of American politics, if you really want the best person to win, you would want people to not lie. And the only reason why they got away with this lie was because they continually labeled you as this horrible threat to democracy and Hitler. They kept saying you're going to be a dictator, ignoring the fact that you weren't a dictator for the 4 years where you were actually the president.
Now, as the interview did progress on, as I mentioned before, Donald Trump did attend a campaign rally. He did campaign a campaign rally. Before he did have one last devastating gut check to the Democratic Party, which was, could Kamala do something like this? Could Kamala sit through a 3-hour interview? Well, don't share that with AOC. AOC might be triggered, just like when Bernie Sanders showed up on the Joe Rogan podcast. For those of you who don't remember, when Bernie did that, so many people, especially in the AOC crowd, were saying that Bernie needs to distance himself from Rogan. Yeah, I don't think Trump's going to take that advice. And as for Kamala, I don't think she could stand it either.
Can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
Could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not going to.
I will talk to her like a human being. I will
if
try
she
to have
did
a conversation
this kind of an
with her.
interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
I think we'd have a fine conversation. I think I'd be able to talk to her. I wouldn't try to interview her. I just try to have a conversation with her and hopefully get to know her as a human being. That was my goal.
Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. You think Kamala Harris cannot only. You think Kamala Harris will attend the Joe Rogan podcast and actually have a conversation? Type 1 for Kit. She's the vice president of the United States. Shame on you. Yes, she can. She could do it. Type 2 man, no, she ain't. She'd probably be on the floor being comatose. I wonder, since we got so many people tuning in, how many twos will be in the chat? I wonder. No such thing as a wrong answer, my lovelies. No such thing as a wrong answer, you beautiful, lovely people. But I do also want to bring up more of conspiracy theories. I just have to bring this up here because it is important. And that is also what happened to a president, one of our sitting president or one of our former presidents, who was, unfortunately, his life was cut short. And I'm talking about the JFK files. Now, this is something that Trump has promised in the past to release, which didn't happen. But I am curious to see if maybe it will happen under his administration. Am I going to hold my breath? Absolutely not.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is the JFK files. And one of the things that you said was that if they showed you what they showed me, this was your quote, you wouldn't want people to know it either.
So I opened them up.
We have to know. JFK, it can be argued, was our last true president. We should know what happened to him.
Partially. I was met with, from good people. I mean, good people. People that were well-meaning. Mike Pompeo was one of them. He's a good person. They called me. They said, "Sir, would rather have you not." And I did open them. But I was asked by some people not to open them. There's a Martin Luther King file, too, by the way, that they'd like to see. I don't know if you know, but there is that. But JFK in particular. So they called me, a lot of good people called me, people that that you would find reasonable people. And they asked me not to do it. So I said, well, we'll close it for another time. But if I win, I'm going to open them up. I'm just going to open enough.
Why didn't you open it up the first time?
Because a lot of times,
what was the hesitation, though?
Addresses, people that are still living. There are people that are affected. And there could be some national security reason that that I don't have to necessarily know about. But some very good, talented people asked me not to do it. I opened it up, and then they said, would it be possible for us to do that a different day?
How much of it did you read into?
I want to bet he just skimmed through it. Or is it that he's just saying, yeah, I saw it, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to be dodging bullets. No pun intended.
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office.
Well, the thing, when people look at it from the outside and you sort of imagine what could be a reason why they would not release those files, it would be there's people that were implicated in the assassination.
Yeah. Well, when there are living people, you generally tend not to want to do it. When people are still living
people that formerly work for the government.
And living people that were somehow involved in it, and you tend not to do that. But it's time to open them. I can't tell you whether or not they're going to find anything of interest. And I did partially open. I think I've opened 50%.
It's either you opened it or you didn't, okay? At least we're kind of getting some kind of answer. If this was Kamala, she's like, I saw the files and I said, I must be unburdened by what has been, by what is not to be here and never be. But I did open, but then I saw that there were papers in there. It's either you open the goddamn thing or not, Trump, all right? But people should know what the hell happened to JFK, okay? We've been waiting enough, okay? Same thing, too, what happened to RFK Jr., Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Surprise, surprise, it was the CIA. There you go. It was the CIA who did it. Hey, never asked the CIA its role for helping out El Chapo and El Pablo. The cartels. No one asked the CIA what it did in regards to getting the booger sugar here in the USA. No one talked about how the CIA helped create the environment that we have right now. Reason why we got cartels and gangs in Central and South America? Your favorite 3-letter word, the CIA.
But I was asked not to do it, and I I thought that was a reasonable ask, but now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon.
One of the things.
Yes. Would he do it? Would he not? But I also want to pull this up here because Trump did attend a rally. Said he was going to cancel it, but he decided against it. This was a rally that he attended after doing a 3-hour podcast. But I'm only playing this here because this is a sign of things to come in regards to the final days of this election. Today is October 27th. So that means we have 2, 4, 6, 8 more days till November 5th. November 5th, all votes are going to happen. All votes will be tallied. But what happened in particular, and this is not related to the interview, but it's the big canary in the coal mine. Now, many people in the audience in my live stream chat are saying, hey, look, both Kamala and Trump are parasitic. They're not really humans. They're just politicians. And I've made it very clear how I feel about politicians. They're all liars. They have to professionally lie to care. Now, I mentioned this story before where you had, Rush Limbaugh saying he wanted to see Barack Obama fail. Now, in an ideal world, I want to see our politicians succeed. I want to see our politicians actually make our lives better. But see, the problem is that's a fantasy. It's not real at all. And while I do want our leaders to succeed, I don't know if they could really pull it off. And this seems to be like another whole bunch of lies and a yanking and a chain, but it is a symbol of what's going to happen to the Democrats and their coalition, because Democrats, you can finger wag at Trump, you could finger wag at Rogan, but people saw that interview. People did see it. And now not many people are actually tuned into the realm of politics like how we cover it here at Hard Lens Media or like our colleagues in independent media. But this right here is a sign, a scary sign for Democrats.
Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason. I believe personally that God has saved his life for a reason, which is to save the lives of others. We support Donald J. Trump for his commitment to promoting family values and protecting our children's well-being, especially when it comes to curriculums and schools.
Oh, boy. Listen, guys, listen. Politicians are supposed to lie, but okay, whatever. Whatever. Hey, it's fine. Listen, the ship is sinking, my lovelies.
We as Muslims support this man because we believe that he will be a president for all Americans, embracing every race, color, and religion. We are with President Trump because we want a strong border. And we agree with President Trump that anyone who wants to come to this country is welcome, but he has to do that through legal pathway. We are with President Trump because we want a strong economy. Don't you want that?
Yes. Just keep on using those talking points. Keep on using those talking points. The talking points that get people to vote. If that video right now has been gaining a lot of tractions and views, as is the interview that Joe Rogan did with Donald Trump. Now, there's a couple things I want to clarify too, because I've seen this post on social media. Joe Rogan did post that interview on his YouTube channel, and it was not taken down by YouTube. Community Notes on Twitter, X, corrected it. No, it was not deleted by YouTube. Rogan took it down himself. He unlisted it. So anybody that still has the original link, many people have been downloading it, but no, YouTube had nothing to do with it. So just want to clarify that part in case people are going to be typing in the comment section below, because that's not what happened. Rogan just unlisted it because a video like that is going to get millions upon millions of views. But what's the takeaway from a 3-hour podcast with Joe Rogan? Well, if you guys rewind back the clocks, never forget when Bernie Sanders showed up on Joe Rogan's show, when Tulsi Gabbard showed up on Joe Rogan's show, and when Andrew Yang showed up on Joe Rogan's show way back in the 2020 Democratic primaries. All three of those campaigns got a huge, significant boost, as well as more eyeballs onto the individual that was speaking to Rogan at the time. This interview with Donald Trump, it is the last Hail Mary of the final days of the 2024 election cycle. Now, there are many things working in favor for Donald Trump, and this interview is going to be one of them too. So many people are seeing it. So many people are clipping it on social media. So many people are sharing it. And I want to be very clear on this. I understand why people are either triggered by Trump or either that want to vote for him. But when you cast your vote, it's still going to be the same. Nothing's going to change. Maybe things could get better. Maybe Donald Trump can bring in peace. I hope he can. I don't want to wake up one morning seeing nuclear clouds as I'm drinking my morning cup of coffee and the entire city gets vaporized. Dare I say it, the whole world gets vaporized in atomic fire. I don't want to see it. None of you want to see that happen. And we can thank the Democrats for leading us down that road. But see, the problem is when you have a corrupt institution, neoliberalism running rampant, unchecked bribery and abuse of power, one person can't make that impact. After the election, whether Trump or Kamala is victorious, we're still stuck in the same spot. Wall Street, the big banks, the top 1%ers still have the final say. I hope things do change. But the only way change will happen is if the people step up. It's easy to vote and then go right back to sleep. We saw it firsthand. Hell, I have a prime example. After the 2020 election, all those activists, those pink pussy hat people, where were all of you during these 4 years? Where were all of you wanting to hold Biden's feet to the fire? All of you went to sleep. You had your lunch brunch. How's that working out for you? And this goes for everybody now. Whether Trump or Kamala comes into the White House, no matter who sits at that table, nothing is going to change. You cannot rely on a politician to save you. What's going to require us to actually have a better future is us having constant vigilance over our republic and fighting and doing things non-traditional sense of voting, because voting at this point is irrelevant. Misty Sarcasm Stardust is correct. Voting, we're not going to get out of this through electoral politics, through citizen ballot initiatives, through actually creating movements and organizations, not in Washington, D.C., can we actually get a better future. 10 out of 10. What do I think about the Rogan interview with Donald Trump? I give it a solid 9 out of 10. It's historic. It's a final gut check to Kamala, and it is a true call out to Kamala. In these final days, will Kamala actually show up to the Joe Rogan show? Would she do it? Well, she better not tell that to AOC. AOC might have a full-blown meltdown.